And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. Always a pleasure to welcome Stephanie Libertor, who is an author and just an all-around wonderful person. Good morning.
Good morning, Susie.
For people who might not have heard your name before, you are the author of Unbound. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Well, Unbound is a Bible study that helps women journey through a difficult past, usually geared toward a sexual past, and it helps them heal from those deep wounds.
And you've created some Bible studies from it and had a number of groups. Are you surprised at how many people need healing in that area?
Not at all. Sadly, not at all, because you'd be surprised that the women sitting next to you right in church have been through difficult pasts. And I think it's sometimes we keep it secret because, we haven't dealt with our own wounds and we're struggling with some shame. But, oh, mercy. There's a lot of brokenness.
It hits the nail on the head, and it really reaches people right where they are. You've gotten to see a lot of healing through it. First of all, just to be the instrument that God has used, what does that do to you? To see how the book that you wrote is being used to heal so many women.
It is over the top a blessing. But, it just makes my jaw drop too, when a woman comes through it and she shares her story, or I've seen her journey from, how she was when she came in broken and can't even look you in the eye. And then, 13 weeks later, she's smiling and she's laughing and she, it's just a memory, and she's really come to a place of peace with her past. It is just unbelievable what God can do.
Do you have some groups coming up?
We will. January or February, we'll offer Unbound as part of our Beautifully Brave groups.
And how can people find out when those are and sign up and register? Do you have a website, something?
Have a website.
Alrighty.
Yes, it's called livingbeautifullybrave.com. There's a section there. Check out the Beautifully Brave groups. And there's a way to contact me, and we'll get you into a group.
Awesome. livingbeautifullybrave.com. All right, this is something a little bit newer. I love the name of it. Beautifully Brave. Where did that come from?
It really just came from the Lord. I know you probably hear that a lot, but it was just something that God dropped in me. Now, I'd been on this whole brave kick for a couple of years. It's been a word that I've been using, and I see brave in other women, especially coming through our Beautifully Brave groups. I call it out in them, and I'm like, that's brave. Mm-hmm. But it's not so easy to see brave in myself. And so when this just dropped in my spirit, living beautifully brave, I think I gasped. It was just something that truly resonated in my heart. And then I began to pray and ask the Lord, what does it really look like to live beautifully brave?
And what did he say?
Without question, he said to me, the verse from Psalm 23:4 came right out. It came right to my mind. And it says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And I pondered that. And so basically my takeaway from that is, Susie, we can be brave because his presence is with us. Because he's with us, we can face every dark valley because of him.
Yeah. When I think of that visual image of a shadow of death, it can be pretty frightening. Mm-hmm. But when you think that you're with God, in the shadow of his presence, hiding there where nothing bad can touch you.
Right.
Because it's got to get through him first, and it's not getting through him. But there's a safe shadow there under his wings rather than that having to be afraid of that shadow of death in that valley. Someone told me one time, things only grow in a valley. It's like, oh gosh, what a bummer to know that, yeah, that's true. So yeah, you're right. Thanks a heap. But in that way, we almost can count everything joy because growth is about to happen.
Absolutely.
You've gotten to see women go through some amazing things, even with the Living Beautifully Brave, as new as this is with these groups. You had 50 people show up to the first one?
Well, yes. Living Beautifully Brave is a website where women can find stories of women being brave. And I know that we can find our own stories within the stories of other women. And Living Beautifully Brave is also about women's events and also the Beautifully Brave groups. So,
You
yes.
have quite an enterprise going here.
Oh, wow. Never thought of it like that.
My goodness.
But yes, we had our very first Beautifully Brave event in September, and 50 women came. And
What did that look like?
It was wonderful. We had a few speakers, and we had worship, and we had a couple of women, brave women, sharing some brave stories. And, there was a lot of hope given in that place.
You use the book Unbound with it, or is a new book on the horizon?
Well, at the event, we had books for sale, but it wasn't really about the book. It was just about being inspired by stories of hope, and it was just all about inspiration, inspiring women that they too can live brave.
I'm wondering, almost like Chicken Soup for the Soul, is one day all of these stories about bravery going to become the next book?
Susie, I don't know. Maybe it will.
From my lips to God's ears.
That's right. Okay. I don't know what he has in store.
But right now we can read them on the website.
That's right.
What is it about women, Stephanie? They get into a group. We need each other. We need the encouragement and support of each other. But women are hard on each other. Can you address that?
I think it has to do with fear. I feel like, when we're hard on each other, I think it has to do with fear and insecurity, which is so the opposite of what God wants us to do, because, living brave should be about, it shouldn't have anything to do with competition and competing with other women. I think when we're free from that, we can champion one another.
Right there. That's it. It's the competition, comparing. Boy, do we get into a trap when we start to compare.
Yeah.
Pretty tough. What does living brave look like then?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not.
Okay, let's start there.
Brave is not just sucking it up or keeping a stiff upper lip. It's not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And these are things that we've heard from the time we were little girls.
Yes.
And it has its place. I shared some of that at the Living Beautifully Brave event. It has its place, but that's not it, because those messages just mean try harder.
Right.
Stop crying. It means don't worry, be happy. And we just kind of feel condemned. Those are condemning messages. I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it enough. I'm not enough. And really brave, look at that dictionary definition. It just means doing something hard. It means to show mental or moral strength in the face of danger, fear, or difficulty. And let's look at that realistically. We've just talked about life. We've just gave a definition of life, because not one of us goes through life without some kind of fear or challenge or difficulty.
That's part of life.
Yes, it is.
So bravery, I have also heard, it's when someone's brave and courageous, it doesn't mean that they're not experiencing fear. It's they don't let it paralyze them.
Correct.
How do we do that? How do we do that, Stephanie?
I'll tell you what, I don't have the slightest because I feel it's kind of comical to me that the Lord would give me a ministry called Living Beautifully Brave, because I feel anything but on most days. I'm one who likes sunshine and blue skies, peace at any price. I'm not a confrontational person. I want the green pastures all the time. And you know what? The Lord is showing me that's not realistic.
Right.
And His peace doesn't mean that there aren't stormy days. I think, He's like Stephanie. My peace is is in coming up alongside me, really tucking yourself into the shadow of my wings.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you find your peace and your safety. It isn't in the lack of storms or the lack of dark valleys or the lack of shadows.
No, that's exactly right. We really don't know how strong he truly is until we completely rest 100% on him. You can kind of lean against a chair,
Yes.
but you don't know what it will hold until you put all your weight on it and sit there.
Right.
Same with our reliance on our Heavenly Father, who really wants to catch us and wants to be there. I'm curious as to how the women responded, these 50 women, at this very first Beautifully Brave group.
Well, I can say that there were many tears, and there was a lot of laughter, and a lot of hope.
Hope. You have two words there. We've talked a lot about the brave part. And I love what you're saying, because nowhere have I ever heard anyone saying woman up. It's, it's man up. But woman up is not something you hear. Beautiful, beautifully brave, not just brave. Why did you put those two words together?
I think that's how the Lord sees us when we are trusting in Him and trusting Him in that valley place. I think it's what He calls us, because I don't call myself that, because it's hard to recognize brave in myself. I can see it in women all day long, but I can't see it in myself. But I think He calls us that.
Again, why do we see ourselves through the eyes of somebody who's looking at us when we were in junior high? You know what I mean? We have this picture of ourselves a certain way, not our favorite version, and we tend to look at ourselves with these critical eyes. Why do we do that? Any clue? Your own just perception of it.
I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question. It seems like I don't know, Susie.
But we do.
We do that.
We look at ourselves critically.
Yes, we do.
And what has Facebook done, other than give everybody this highlight reel so that we're showing everyone a completely filtered, completely edited version of everything going on in our life, to put it out there and what? Compare.
Right. That's why I think it's so important to be authentic and share our stories, because that I think we compare because of fear that we're not enough, that I don't measure up, and that's really insecurity and fear. And I think, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't want to interrupt you, because I think you're really onto something. You've said about the stories, and I don't want to give you a pop quiz and start asking, okay, tell us all the stories. But is there a story that you can share with us, someone's story that has been on the website or something that was shared at the group or something that gives hope, that shows here's where somebody was able to turn the corner because they saw who they are in Jesus Christ?
Well, there's a story on the website, Sarah's story, and she was there sharing at the Beautifully Brave event. It's on the website, and she and her husband faced years of infertility. They got pregnant and just rejoiced over that, and then there was trouble, and long story short, they lost the baby. But it was an amazing story of them walking through this valley close to their shepherd, who gave them strength and enabled them to be brave. I say, if you want the details and the ending of the story, because that's not the end.
There's a happy ending.
There's a happy ending. Go to the website and read about it. But that just came to my mind. I think it's just... makes me want to shout for joy.
And as she was going through that, watching people just come alongside her to walk that tough path was a beautiful thing to see, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because it's pretty hard to face something like that alone. Can't do it.
No, you
can't be done. That's why we're here.
That's right.
For each other. All right. Looking at the clock, do need to take a little short break. We're visiting with Stephanie Libertar, and we are talking about Beautifully Brave and Living Beautifully Brave. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.